Hi everyone, Meteorologist Bill Rentschler in the 1011 Now streaming studio. It is Sunday evening at 9 o'clock, and our 10 o'clock show on CBS is going to be on a little bit late. Again, we had football on earlier this evening, and now the Golden Globes are on now, and so again, 10 o'clock show is going to get pushed back a little bit. So figured we'd jump on here and go live so we could talk about the forecast so folks don't have to wait up necessarily to see that 10 o'clock show forecast, which, again, is not going to be going on time. So we'll kind of take a few minutes here. We'll go through the forecast. Again, there's a lot to unpack, not just for tomorrow, but over the course of the next week, as, again, a couple systems going to head our way. Again, obviously the big snow heading our way into Monday, but then the coldest air of the season heading our way late this week. So, again, we'll kind of go through a lot. I'll go through it a couple times, again, as people come in and join and then dip back out. So we'll kind of go through it a couple times here so everyone can see. But, again, the first thing I want to just point out, again, if you haven't done it already, now's a really good time to download that 1011 weather app. Again, you get local, hour by hour, 10-day forecasts, whether you're in Lincoln, whether you're in Steiner, whether you're in Grand Island, Norfolk, Columbus, wherever you are. And again, it follows you where you go. The nice part about it, too, is that you get little forecast video updates from me, from Melissa, from Brandon, from Brad, from Ken, wherever you're going. So, again, we can kind of keep you up to date wherever you are. So, again, good tool to have in your back pocket. Again, we always encourage people to have multiple ways to get their weather information. This is certainly one of those ways. Again, if you're watching right now, we're live on the 1011 live stream. We're also live on the 1011 YouTube channel. So welcome to everyone again on the YouTube channel. I can see your comments. If you have questions, feel free to drop them there in the chat on YouTube, and I can try and address them. I already have a couple comments from HDYT who says hello and that they're excited for the snow. I think I am too. Again, it's been we had a big snow last February, but again, the last two snowfall seasons have been pretty lackluster. I'm hoping that will change as we head into the next several months. Certainly this one, this system has the potential to be a pretty big one. So, but again, if you haven't downloaded that 1011 weather app, now's a good chance to do it because again, we've been updating that app with information on this system for the last several days, which again is going to be a pretty good one. This is a look at all the winter weather alerts associated with this system. Again, stretching from the Four Corners through southern Colorado, almost all of Kansas, again, about 3/4 of Nebraska. We have blizzard warnings in orange across western Kansas into a couple counties there in southwestern Nebraska. Winter storm warnings in pink, again, cover about 2/3 of Nebraska from North Platte all the way to Omaha. Also parts of our northern Kansas counties, parts of South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, and northern Missouri. This system as a whole, in fact, again, it's going to hit in some way, shape, or form, whether it's snow, wind, rain, whatever it might be, is literally going to impact every state east of the Mississippi over the course of the next 48 to 72 hours as it swings through the United States. So, again, there's a lot going on. If we zoom in, again, look at Nebraska. Those areas shaded in pink, again, like I mentioned, from North Platte to Omaha, those are winter storm warnings. These begin late tonight, midnight or so, last all the way through the day on Monday, and early Tuesday morning, about 6 a.m. Tuesday morning. Winter weather advisory kind of on the western periphery of this system. And we actually, in the last half an hour or so, did have a couple counties there in southwestern Nebraska get added to a blizzard warning. That goes from 6 a.m. Monday to 6 a.m. Tuesday. Those counties, again, could, and again, those areas as a whole, don't let the county lines necessarily make you think that just because one county's in one and one county's in the other, we won't see the same impacts necessarily. But again, with sustained winds, 25, 35, 45 miles an hour, gusting as high as 55 to 65 miles an hour. You combine that with snow, visibility is going to be near zero. Again, very difficult, very dangerous travel conditions. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe we saw some additional counties go under that blizzard warning. We'll kind of have to wait and see. That's the National Weather Service's call. Again, a reminder, the blizzard warning has nothing to do with snowfall amounts. That's based on wind speeds and visibility over a certain period of time. So, again, that's a look at kind of the current advisories here. Hello, Brittany. Jenny says she works from home. Again, my wife works from home. She definitely is excited to be doing that. Brittany also asked, do you suggest driving in the weather conditions? No, I definitely don't suggest driving. Again, early Monday morning, especially, I think, early. If you're an early riser, again, an early morning commute on Monday would be doable, but the afternoon, evening commute on Monday is just going to be not good. It's going to be really bad. And then likely the Tuesday morning commute could be pretty gnarly as well, even though snow will be tapering off and kind of winding down by that point. But the wind and the blowing snow and the drifting snow and the reduced visibility is just going to make travel really difficult over the next 24 to 36 hours. So again, there's the warnings. Here's the snowfall forecast, which again is I know most people again they want to see. And that area in dark blue again is right now where we're thinking we're going to see our heaviest snowfall amounts. Right now we're going to say 5 to 9. And you know, one of the reasons we kind of stop at 9 is it's really hard to get double-digit snowfall. It's just really hard. It doesn't happen that often. Again, I put it out on my Twitter earlier tonight. But in Lincoln, snowfall records, daily snowfall records, go back to 1897. So that's 126 years of snowfall records. That's roughly 46,000 days. Of those days, just 9 have had double-digit snowfall in one day. Over a 2-day time frame, it's happened more often. But if I do 9 divided by 46,000, so you're talking 0.01% of the time. So again, it just does not happen very often at all. So again, 5 to 9. But that being said, it certainly wouldn't surprise me, especially again the way the models have kind of coalesced over the last day or so, if we did see some double-digit snowfall totals kind of across that eastern half of the state, from kind of Highway 281 and then further to the east, and certainly down into northern Kansas as well. Again, this system's going to have a lot of moisture with it, but 5 to 9 is what we're going to go with right now. But I certainly wouldn't be surprised if we did end up seeing some higher amounts that were reported as we get through this system. Tapers off as you head further to the west. We're going to say 3 to 6 for areas like Ainsworth, O'Neill, Broken Bow, North Platte, down towards McCook, close to the Imperial area. 1 to 3 then kind of on the western edge of this system as you head across the Sandhills into parts of southwestern Nebraska. So again, a lot of snow at this system. It's going to be a wet and heavy snow. So again, if you have to scoop, your back is gonna be a little achy when you're done scooping. If you're got a snowblower, again like me with the last one, you kind of had to keep starting and stopping because the snow was like trying to snowblow wet concrete. But it will be a wet and heavy snow. Again, usually when we talk snowfall, we assume a 10 to 1 snowfall ratio, which means that for every 1 inch of snowfall, 1 inch of liquid precipitation, you would assume 10 inches of snow. That's the standard, is 10 to 1. This system is going to be more like 6, 7, 8 to 1, something in there. So again, a lot of moisture with it expected with this system. Let me hop over here real quick. I have, let's see, Donald asking about Superior, Nebraska. Again, Superior, Nebraska, I have in that 5 to 9 inch range. But again, Superior is also one of those places. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if we did have, again, a double-digit snowfall total there. Again, it's tough to do, but again, there is a distinct possibility for that, but 5 to 9 is what we're going to go with right now. I want to show you, again, the snowfall models. This is for Lincoln specifically. Again, starting to get some of the 0Z runs in right now, which, again, would be the latest runs. We're still waiting for some new model data to come in over the course of the next hour or so, but this is kind of where we're at. Again, you can see that 5 to 9 range, I think, is a pretty good bet. But again, the sort of the boom potential with the system would include that double-digit snowfall totals. The rapid refresh there you see on the very bottom. It has just over a foot of snow over the next 36 hours. The North American model there, the NAM, it's got just over a foot. The GEM is the Canadian model. It's got around 10 inches. The GFS, that's the American model. It's got about 10 inches. The European model's got about 7.5. That run was from earlier this afternoon. We won't get a new run of that until late tonight. And then the graph is actually our in-house model. That's provided to us with our weather graphics, and that is also the 0Z run of that, so we won't see another new piece of data with the graph for another 6 hours or so. But again, the GEM, the graph, and the rapid refresh there, actually, and the NAM, So 4 of the 6 there are actually the 0Z runs, so that's the latest runs that we could have waiting on the 0Z GFS to come in. There are other models that we look at. Again, you can look at a ton of different models. But again, there's models that I'm not showing on here that I've looked at that, again, have some really big snowfall amounts for Lincoln over the course of the next 24 to 36 hours. So again, 5 to 9, though, I think is what I think is the most likely scenario with this system for Lincoln and for much of eastern Nebraska. Bill Hartman wants to know, what are the odds, if any, of dry air kicking in? That's a really good question, Bill. You'll hear us talk oftentimes about the dry slot, or dry air in the mid-levels, or what have you, really zapping snowfall totals. That's not much of a concern at this point, and that's due to, and I'll talk about this in just a second, actually, that's due to where the low is with this system. Sometimes, again, that dry slot, it's kind of on the southwest side of the low, and we're going to be kind of on the more northerly and northwesterly side of the low, so that's not as much of a concern. Again, I think it would take a pretty major shift in the track of this storm for that to be an issue with this system. But again, don't think that's going to be too much of a concern for us at this point. There are still certainly things out there that could ruin the forecast or bust the forecast or change it in a big way. But again, I think models over the last 12 to 24 hours have really coalesced around the solution of the moderate to potentially heavy snow impacting the eastern sections of the state. So again, it's a little past 10 o'clock. This is what the satellite and radar picture looks like currently. We're kind of going to see moisture in 2 waves. And what we're seeing now is kind of the first wave that's going to impact the northern and I think northeastern sections of the state as we head again through the rest of tonight into the overnight hours, and then again still through the day on your Monday. The second wave will arrive as we head towards Monday morning as moisture surges northward around that low pressure system. But what we have out there right now, again, is mostly cloudy skies for most of the state, but already some ongoing light lingering light snow across the northeastern corner of the state. And again, HDYT reporting some snow flurries in Lincoln already as well. So again, we'll hold out in Lincoln. We could see some flurries, maybe some very light snow or a very light wintry mix over the next couple hours, but most of the moisture for Lincoln is likely going to be starting as we head into Monday morning. But that's the current picture right now, satellite and radar. State view, if you look at a regional view, things again not ramped up yet. Not really. This is going to get going as we head overnight tonight and then as we wake up on Monday. So again, that first wave already ongoing across parts of northeastern Nebraska. That second wave is going to come overnight. So here's the surface map. Again, I mentioned it when Bill asked that question about the dry air. The track of this low, again, sometimes when we get that dry slot, that low tracks right into almost southeastern Nebraska, northeastern Kansas, and that's when we can sometimes see that dry slot kick right through, and that can really, again, zap our snowfall totals. But this low, again, the way things are tracking now is expected to basically track across parts of southern Kansas and then kind of into east central Kansas by the time we get to maybe this time tomorrow night. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to replay this, back it up here just a second. But again, 10 o'clock Sunday, again, you can see, like the Skycast shows, it's got some snow in the northeast, but otherwise it's fairly quiet. But then as we head overnight tonight, you can see the moisture develop across parts of Kansas and then surge northward. And so we'll be on kind of the northwestern side of the low. So for Lincoln and eastern parts of the state, we'll see easterly winds tomorrow based on where we are on which side of the low pressure system we're on. But while the western half of the state's going to be on the back end, and they'll be dealing with more northerly winds. So again, snow through the morning, into the afternoon. Snow continues all afternoon, all evening. This is basically 24 hours from now. That low, again, keep an eye on where that low is. If that low tracks, 200 miles further north from where it is right now, which, again, is certainly possible. Certainly, I don't think that's likely at this point. That could certainly impact snowfall totals, but that could certainly bring in some dry air into the question. But, again, I don't see that happening at this point right now. But snow continues all day Monday. Again, Monday night, you can see where the low is. As that low then finally kind of kicks east of the area, overnight Monday into early Tuesday, snow eventually kind of ends from west to east. You can see how close those isobars are, though, on the back end of that low. Those are the black lines there. And the closer those lines are, the stronger the winds are. So, again, we'll see easterly winds in Lincoln and eastern Nebraska through most of the day on Monday. But then by the time we get to Tuesday morning on the back end of that low, we're going to see those more northerly winds And again, even though snow is tapering off at this point, or expected to be tapering off at this point, we're still potentially dealing with areas of blowing snow, drifting snow, reduced visibility because of that, and again, still poor travel conditions even into Tuesday morning. Really quickly here, Donald wanted to know, will the Kansas along Superior border area go into a blizzard warning, do you think? I think I had another person ask me this question, whether Lincoln or eastern Nebraska would see blizzard warning at some point during the system. Again, just as a reminder, blizzard warnings have nothing to do with snowfall amounts. It's sustained winds or wind gusts over a period of time and visibility over a period of time. And I certainly think that anyone in the winter storm warning, I think, especially areas west initially, and then kind of west to east as the strong winds pick up on the backside of the low, have the potential again to see blizzard conditions. Again, to have the blizzard warning, it has to be for 3 hours or more. So again, there is that time criteria in there. And I think for a lot of folks, we're probably going to be right on the edge. Whether or not the National Weather Service then flips it from a winter storm warning to a blizzard warning, that's their call. Again, in the moment, I'm not sure if it will happen or not. Again, I think the storm has been warned enough, and people kind of know enough ahead of time that the strong winds and the snow are going to create really difficult and dangerous travel conditions. That at that point, what's the real difference between having a winter storm warning and a blizzard warning? It's just going to be pretty gnarly and pretty nasty overall. So that's Tuesday, 7 a.m. Again, the low well off to our east. That continues to pull out of the area as we head through the remainder of Tuesday. We'll be left with clearing skies, but very cold and blustery conditions through the day on your Tuesday, as temperatures are likely falling, likely into the low 20s by the afternoon, but likely going to be feeling more like the single digits. So if we zoom in, we'll take a closer look. Again, this is the statewide view. Time this out on SkyCast. Again, by 11 o'clock, again, so snow across parts of northern, northeastern Nebraska, those easterly and southeasterly winds across the state. Fast forward to 7 a.m. on Monday. You can see that plume of moisture surging northward initially, especially across parts of northern, northeastern Kansas, southeastern Nebraska. We could wake up to a little bit of a wintry mix to start the day. Might even be just a little bit of rain, based on temperatures again right around that freezing mark. So if you are an early riser tomorrow, again, don't be surprised if you wake up and look out your window and there's nothing. Might just be wet. That's certainly a possibility. But as we head through the morning, that changeover will occur, and I certainly think probably by mid-morning, most areas likely seeing a changeover to all snow. Certainly that will be the case by noon, and by that point, I think we're looking at widespread moderate to maybe even heavy snow across a good chunk of central and eastern Nebraska. Snowfall rates of 2 inches an hour, maybe 3 inches an hour, not out of the realm of possibility for a few locations, which, again, is some really high snowfall rates again, and with the moisture content with this system, going to be a wet, heavy snow. They're going to be big, fat, wet snowflakes as they're falling, and again, they will pile up pretty quickly. So again, we've changed over from that wintry mix to all snow through the morning, and then we're talking all snow through the afternoon. Again, could be heavy at times. You can see by 5 on Monday, still have those little easterly, maybe a little bit of a northeasterly component winds for the eastern third of the state. All northerly winds on the back end for kind of central and western sections of the state. Those northerly winds will probably be the stronger of the two. And again, that's where we could see some of those blizzard-like conditions at times, reduced visibility, hazardous travel. Snow continues, maybe becoming a little less widespread, maybe just a little bit more scattered as we head into Monday evening, maybe decreasing in intensity just a little bit as that low begins to kind of exit the area. But you can see snow still expected to be ongoing by 10 o'clock Monday night. And then as we head overnight, that low pulls off east. Snow becomes much more scattered to isolated as we head into Tuesday morning. Some models have the snow hanging on all the way through Tuesday morning. But again, I think certainly by mid-morning, most of that snow likely coming to an end for much of the area. But then again, by Tuesday afternoon, while the snow will be done, we'll still be dealing with the cold and the wind, and we could still be dealing with some areas of blowing and drifting snow. So here's a look at those future wind gusts. This is starting tomorrow morning at 7. And again, you can see we're looking at high peak wind peak wind gusts, I think by Monday afternoon between about 35 and 45 miles an hour for the western half of the state, again on the back end of that low. And those are just basically going to move from west to east across the state through Monday afternoon into Monday evening. Again, I think for Lincoln and eastern and southeastern Nebraska, we don't see these winds eventually turn to the north until after 10 o'clock Monday night. But as they do, again, we could see those winds gust 30 to 40 miles an hour. And this is where I was talking about, the criteria of the blizzard warning. It'll still likely be lightly snowing through the overnight period. The winds will be strong enough. The visibility would likely be reduced. But again, will we see a changeover from a winter storm warning to a blizzard warning? I'm not sure. That's not my call to bank. That's the National Weather Service's decision. But by Tuesday morning, 7 a.m., again, expecting snow to kind of have wound down or being winding down at this point, but we're still dealing with those strong wind gusts for the eastern half of the state, anywhere between 30, 40, maybe 45 miles an hour. By the afternoon, as the low gets further away, those winds eventually do decrease for us as well. Brittany wants to know, do you think York, Utica, and Milford area will get bad? I think, again, yeah, I do. I think, again, 5 to 9 inches of snow is pretty good bet at this point. Maybe even some higher amounts possible for those areas. And again, wind, difficult travel. It'll be pretty nasty for just about everyone in central and eastern Nebraska. Now, as far as temperatures are concerned, Monday morning lows, these aren't too crazy. Again, low teens, 20s to low 30s. Again, for southern, south central, southeastern Nebraska, temperatures right around that freezing mark for lows and for highs. And that's where we could see at least a brief period of a wintry mix as temperatures are hovering right around that freezing mark. Feels like temperatures, though, to start the day, again, anywhere from around 0 in the far west to the low to mid 20s in terms of wind chills. In terms of quote-unquote high temperatures for the day on Monday. Again, we're looking at low 20s to low to mid-30s, right around that freezing mark, again, for areas like Lincoln, Grand Island, Hastings, Hebron, Beatrice, Falls City, Nebraska City, Omaha. So, again, that's where a little bit of that wintry mix comes into play, not out of the realm of possibility to start the day before we see that change over to all snow. Again, in terms of wind chills, which, again, that wind will be blowing by 3 o'clock Monday afternoon. You can see for those areas that have that northerly wind and are a little bit colder on the back end of the low, they're already down into the single digits, and those single digits will just continue to push to the east through Monday night by 10 o'clock. You can see it continuing to trek to the east, and then overnight Monday into early Tuesday, again waking up Tuesday morning about 5 below to 5 above for our wind chills to start the day Tuesday. By Tuesday afternoon, eastern Nebraska looking at wind chills in the single digits to right around 10 degrees. I'll skip that Lincoln forecast real quick, and we'll go straight to the 7-day forecast because I mentioned it. A couple systems to keep an eye on. Obviously, the big one is on Monday with the big snow. There's another clipper system that heads our way Thursday into Friday that could bring us some light snow, maybe an inch or two. Not nearly as much as what we're talking about getting with this system, but what it will do is it will kind of unlock Canada and some of the cold Arctic Canadian air that's been bottled up well to our north, and temperatures just go through the floor. We're looking at highs in the single digits Friday, Saturday, Sunday, morning lows in the single digits, both above and below 0, Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, and statewide we could be looking at wind chills as cold as maybe 20 to 30 to 35 degrees below 0 at times. Again, not all the time, but at times throughout that period, we could see, again, those wind chills just brutally, brutally cold. Certainly wouldn't surprise me during that time if we saw some either wind chill advisories or wind chill warnings or something of the like. So, again, and this is just the Lincoln 7-day forecast, but you can pick your spot across the state, and it's going to look pretty similar to this, where temperatures, are not terrible over the next 3 days, but then Thursday, Friday into the weekend, it just gets really, really cold. In fact, I'm going to pull up a graphic here. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. So this is our high temperature forecast. Again, this has got a lot of the cities across the state, and this is for the next 10 days. So again, it has today on there. So again, today's high temperatures are kind of falling off, but you can see the point. Doesn't matter where you are, whether it's Lincoln, Norfolk, North Platte, Valentine, McCook. Temperatures over the next couple days aren't horrible. Again, it will be snowy and all the rest, and it will get cold, especially on Tuesday. Again, the high of 24 on Tuesday is the high temperature, likely close to midnight, and then gets colder into the afternoon, feeling colder with the wind. But then that Arctic air mass settles into the region starting Thursday and then lasts through the weekend and even into early next week. Single digits for a lot of us. It looks like Valentine on there has a high of 2 below on Saturday, so that's never good when you don't even get above zero. So that's a look at again that forecast over the course of the next 10 days. I'm going to really quickly go back because I said we would at the very top. Kind of just go through a couple of the important bits again. Dustin wants to know, will ice be a concern in the morning as rain turns to snow? I don't think so, Dustin. Again, it's going to be, I think, a pretty brief period of a wintry mix. Would I be surprised if there was some light icing out there, especially on elevated surfaces and untreated surfaces? There could be a little bit, but that's not a huge concern with this system because it's going to be, I think, a fairly quick changeover from wintry mix to snow. And again, those temperatures are going to be right around freezing. And all things considered, again, it hasn't been horribly cold for us over the past few weeks. So ground temperatures, again, aren't, I don't think, in that realm where everything would freeze right as it falls. So that is the good news with that. But really quickly again here, I just want to hit the advisories where we see again winter storm warnings in pink there for most of the coverage area, the winter weather advisories in purple on the western edge of the system, and then again we have those blizzard warnings for a couple counties in southwestern Nebraska. But again, those blizzard warnings also cover parts of western Kansas, eastern Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas Panhandle as well. So again, we have our kind of winter weather quilt with all of our different colors covering the area. And again, really quickly too, I obviously wanted to hit the most important point, which is the snowfall forecast, which again, this is what we're going with right now. Basically the eastern half, we'll say eastern third-ish of the state, 5 to 9 inches of snow is what we're expecting. Again, it's going to be a wet, heavy snow. There'll be some compaction, so again, as more snow piles up on top of the snow already on the ground, it will actually make it sink a little bit because it will be a wet, heavy snow. 5 to 9 inches is what we think is a pretty safe bet. I think, if we're talking, if you were to split it into three kind of categories, if the forecast busts, the most likely, and then if the forecast booms, a bust snowfall in these areas I think would be 3 to 6 inches. The most likely is what we have on there, 5 to 9 inches, and then sort of a boom forecast I think would possibly be 6 to 12 inches of snow in these areas. But 5 to 9 is what we think is most likely in the eastern kind of half of the state. 3 to 6 inches, again, kind of from central into southwestern Nebraska, and then 1 to 3 inches kind of on the western edge of the system, and maybe a trace to an inch for parts of the Nebraska Panhandle, Scottsbluff, Alliance, Chadron, in those areas. Mantronic says he's got $5 on 13 inches. I would take 13 inches of snow. That wouldn't be horrible. I don't know if my snowblower would be able to keep up, but it wouldn't be terrible. All right, so I think that will probably wrap it up for me for now. Again, our 10 o'clock show tonight on 10/11. Not going to be starting at 10. We had football on in the evening. Golden Globes are on now. So we'll be starting a little bit later, which is why I wanted to hop on here. We've talked for about 30 minutes now. But again, I'll have all of this stuff again coming up tonight at during our 10 o'clock show. Brad will be in bright and early tomorrow morning, probably at around 3 a.m. or so, to get ready for the morning show. He will then have you covered through the morning. Again, I think for Lincoln and eastern Nebraska, we're probably talking mid-morning. Mid-morning is what I think we'd really start to see, again, that changeover from a wintry mix to all snow, and then it's basically snowing to beat the band, I think, for a good chunk of the day on your Monday. So appreciate everyone for jumping in, tuning in, watching, asking questions. And hopefully we don't do it again for at least a little while yet. But again, as always, keep it tuned to 1011, both on air and online. Appreciate everyone, and hope everyone has a nice rest of their Sunday night. And again, I hope everyone stays safe and has a really, really nice Monday.